You may not know, but even when the Gallery of Modern Art in Glasgow is closed, you can still see world-class artworks around or on the building. Welcome to this outside curators talk for the Gallery of Modern Art. I'm Martin and I'm one of the curators here at GoMA. We're talking about this work by Lawrence Weiner, Along the Way, Come What May, Somewhere, Somehow. This is one of the works, first works that I brought into the collection as part of a commission. And this is situated 4 times around the building. Lawrence Weiner is a real trailblazer in the 60s for conceptual art, but he likes to think of himself more, or describes himself more, as a sculptor, and he sculpts with words and imagination. There's only a few permanent works in the world, and Glasgow is lucky enough to have one of them. Lawrence Weiner does have a connection with Glasgow and has exhibited 3 times here, twice in Transmission and once in Tramway. First time in Transmission, the committee asked him to come over in 1991. There was a real seminal exhibition there, and Lawrence has a real affection with Glasgow. So he does know the city, but obviously he had to kind of design this and think about this work. I've not visited it for quite a few years. The thing that he really was interested in was the fact that when we sent him over the plans and some photographs, that actually he realised the museum is on a kind of plinth, a natural plinth. There's a couple of stairs going up to the museum, but he liked that idea that people would walk by. If they were going to enter the museum, they would walk up the stairs and go in. And maybe they would read this text, and maybe that would kind of give them a wee bit of whimsy, even if somebody isn't going into the museum, because often some people don't even realise that this is the Gallery of Modern Art. They're usually more know about the Duke and the cone on his head. Lawrence was really hoping that people would walk by, read this wee poem, if you like, this wee action, and then think about it as the day went. So he wanted them to kind of brighten up the day. He didn't want a big bombastic work that people would see. Many people maybe haven't even noticed this work before, but some people do, and then hopefully they go and they pass. It becomes a bit of a word of mouth. Oh, have you seen that text? What was that all about? Or what did that make you think of? So he wanted it to be really subtle and quite a beautiful text. And the phrases themselves, along the way, come what may, is obviously kind of makes you maybe think about like what's going to happen next. There's a wee swirl about movement, or somewhere, somehow, as you're kind of climbing up the stairs or going onto the plinth. Maybe that kind of ambition or where you're going or what you're doing that day. So it's maybe just a wee bit of text to cheer you up as you're walking through the city. Funnily enough, one of our artists, Nikki who has work on the tympanum of the building, she created their mirror room which you walk through as you come into GoMA. She had that similar idea, the idea that you would maybe pass through this strange mirrored room that would maybe change how you're thinking as you go in to experience the museum. We have here Lawrence Weiner's kind of notes on how he was going to put the artwork together. He made this especially so that we had something to keep for the gallery, and he brought it over himself, all folded up in his suitcase. So he presented this to us when he came over. And you can see here the photographs that we were sending over for him to see where we should place the work. He's got his own handwritten. He always writes in capital letters, so even within his actual handwriting, he still does that way. And you can see how he's been placing the text within the paving stones to make sure that it was all set, because these were carved when Lawrence wasn't here on site, so we had to make sure it was perfect, because obviously once it's carved into granite there's no way of taking this back out again, so it was one time only. Here's a bit of text that Lawrence wrote about the works. He says that he's a sculptor because although he uses text, the material is really the text and the imagination of the viewer and how they sculpt whatever they see from that. When you come and visit Taste in Gallery 2, you'll find the Lawrence Weiner work, but you'll also find work by Sean Hayes, recent acquisitions of text work. Within the text next to this video, you'll find a link to a conversation between Sean Hayes and Lawrence Weiner. They were brought together because they have done text work in the public space, and there was a kind of presumption that in the conversation there would be a lot of commonalities between the work. But actually what's interesting when you start looking at the video is that there's actually a lot of differences, and because their approach and what they're trying to achieve with their work is very different. So it's a really interesting conversation, but maybe not how initially you would think it would go.